I had a disagreement with my sister-in-law and I need to hear if I'm wrong. We were talking about my birth family and how I won't ever give them a chance to be in my life if they ever decide they want to know me. My sister-in-law felt that was unfair, but primarily to my birth siblings and how they were raised in the environment that made me reject them. She also claimed my parents' trauma should be considered. I said I didn't care and my birth parents are awful people for how they've treated me, and my birth siblings are now old enough to realize this and do better. For some background, when I was 6, my birth siblings, at the time female 4, male 3 and female infant, and I were removed from our birth parents and placed into foster care separately. I was devastated and spent over a year begging to go home to my parents and siblings. I was bounced around a lot and was considered difficult to place because of my desire to go home. Even though I didn't have the happiest memories of my birth family, the younger me was very attached to them all. I didn't really care that I was somewhat neglected and ignored. To me, they were my family and I loved them. Roughly 18 months after I was removed, I was assigned a temporary caseworker while my normal one was sick. She told me I needed to stop pining after my family and asking to go home to them. She said it was making families reject me. When I told her I missed my family and wanted us to be together again, she told me my birth parents had already taken my birth siblings back months before that point and had chosen not to take me back. She told me to accept that and move on and stop wanting them. I don't know why she told me that and expected it to help, but it broke something inside of me, and for most of my life I was left wondering why and struggling with the reality. When I was 9, I was placed with my parents, and they stuck with me when everything else found me to be too much. They gave me a home and a family, eventually 2 siblings, and they probably saved my life. But I couldn't remove the trauma I carried around with me, and it left questions unanswered. I should also mention that I confirmed later that what the caseworker told me was correct, and my birth parents had taken my birth siblings out of foster care a year after we were placed in care. Apparently they'd gone to therapy and worked on their issues, but willingly chose not to do the same for me. In my mid-20s, when I got engaged to my husband and we agreed we wanted a family, I decided I need to find some degree of closure, or to try at least, because therapy alone wasn't enough to stop that little girl inside from crying and wondering why she wasn't wanted as well. I did a birth family search and ended up connecting to my cousin, who remembered me, and after seeing a photo, I remembered her as well. I was sent to her parents' house frequently to play with her, something I had blanked out, honestly. After we reconnected, I asked her questions, and firstly, she confirmed that my birth parents and birth siblings didn't want to meet me, and secondly, that I was not thought of well in my birth household. I found out that I'd been a twin, and my twin brother had been stillborn. My birth parents blamed me and fell into depression and didn't take the best care of us, but after therapy, they realized they loved and wanted their younger 3 kids, but I was still who they blamed. My birth siblings knew the story, and my cousin had attempted to show them how messed up it was, but they hated me and saw me as a waste of their time. Hearing the story, finding out the truth, and even seeing the grave where they'd called him a big brother to our 3 younger birth siblings but no mention of me was difficult. I did struggle for a while, but with my family and husband, then fiancé, around me, I healed and finally put that little girl who wondered why to rest. I got married and my husband and I had children together once I'd become a healthier version of myself. My cousin and I are very close and she's estranged from my whole birth family, including her parents. My in-laws knew about my history and I was open and honest with them about everything I'd learned and been through. In part because the person they first met was a very broken young woman and my fiancé and I stalled our wedding so I could get help. Once I was in a better place, I let go of any shame or guilt and realized I had no reason to hide. For reasons not fully known to me, but my husband has an idea, my sister-in-law brought up the topic and as I mentioned, we disagreed. She found it very wrong of me to hold the view I do. She thinks I should be showing more grace to everyone, but mostly to my birth siblings because it's how they grew up. She thinks saying they're old enough is BS when it took me so long to come to terms with everything and heal. She believes my feelings show a lack of compassion. And while others disagree with her, I wonder if I should be less harsh when addressing the topic of my birth family after all this time. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Take your dumb sister-in-law to your twin brother's gravestone, leave her there and tell her the next time you speak will be to hear her apology. Maybe your birth siblings do need time, but it's not your job or your responsibility to wait for them to work through it, and you cannot forever be that little girl waiting for your family to love you. It's not healthy, and it's what you moved past. Honestly asking, how will it help? I guess your aim is for your sister-in-law to see OP wasn't mentioned on the gravestone, but the only outcome I can see coming from this is sister-in-law doubling down on how OP's birth family went through trauma for burying their son, and how OP should be more compassionate and understanding, and still dismiss the pain OP went through all these years. The fact the cousin has no contact with OP's birth family, including the cousin's own parents, says a lot about them and validates OP's stance even more. OP, please cut your sister-in-law, or at least go low contact. Sister-in-law needs to mind her business and shut her mouth. She doesn't know crap. She may cause problems. I've heard of so many people's family members getting involved in these situations, and it's making it a lot worse for you. You don't need that kind of toxic in your life. One day, karma will come to her. Better your husband needs to tell his sister to mind her own business. Funny how people always tell the hurt person to show grace instead of holding the ones who caused the pain accountable. I'd also like to add, OP, I'm getting vibes that because of your trauma, you're a people pleaser. Please talk to your therapist about this. My mom used to say, you will never please anyone, so make sure you please yourself. I, 45 male, share 3 kids with my ex, teen male, young teen male, and tween female. We divorced 10 years ago. My ex, D, remarried 8 years ago and has another bio daughter, pre-tween, and a stepdaughter, young teen. My kids have never really gotten along with their stepsister. She pretty much gets whatever she wants. She has always had her own room and bathroom at their mom's house. My daughter had to share with her brothers. She doesn't do chorus and expects my kids to do whatever she asks. Things have been really bad the last 2 years, and a little over a year ago, my oldest came to live with me full-time. A few months later, his brother followed. My oldest teen had a birthday back in December. I bought a car for him. I only requested that he take his brother and sister, my kids, to school, which he agreed to do. My sons and their stepsister go to the same school. Not long after I got him the car, Dee asked my son to take his stepsister to and from school. My ex's neighborhood is on the route to school from my house. He refused. My ex tried to make him do it. I refused. Well, last month we had a winter storm coming in. The first round was not supposed to be bad, so there was school, but quickly the weather got worse than predicted, so the school let out early. My sons were walking to the car with a friend to head to my house. Their stepsister was standing near the car with a friend and was on her phone. She told my son, "Mom says she can't come get us, so we need to ride with you." My son refused. She handed my son the phone and my ex was on the line. She demanded that my son give his stepsister and her friend a ride. She was across town getting groceries before the storm got worse. He refused. His stepsister started yelling at him. He ignored her and they got in the car to leave. She and her friend got in front of the car so he couldn't move. He honked his horn and told them to get out the way. They eventually did, and my son left her and her friend at the school. A teacher saw the incident, so the administration called us about it. We told them what happened. My sons were not in trouble, but they said, "We need to work out this family conflict." Afterward, my ex and her husband tried to talk to me and blamed me. I told them, "It isn't my fault you raised an entitled brat who no one likes. You all have enabled her behavior for years. I've tried to get you to address it, but I'm done. Until you stop being a worthless mother and stepdad, I don't want to hear crap from either one of you. Dee, your own sons despise you. That is all on you." Then we left. I've not spoken to my ex since. I feel bad for my daughter because tensions have been high at my ex's house and she's there half the time. Am I the idiot? Well, 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 if it isn't the consequences of their inaction biting them in the posterior. Not the idiot, your ex chose her stepdaughter over her own kids. She made her choice, now she's got to deal with it. Your son isn't her personal chauffeur. If the adults in her life can't arrange transportation, that's on them, not him. She chose her new husband over her own children. His daughter is just an extension of him in her eyes, while her children with OP are an extension of him and an unwanted reminder to her new husband that he came after OP. OP's kids basically remind stepfather and mom that he's getting OP's sloppy seconds. And of course she doesn't want to lose another husband, so she will favour his children over her ex's children. Honestly, he should have just hung up. I'd do that if someone handed me the phone with their parent on the line screaming demands at me. Yes, even if it was my own mother. The phone gives a lot of power to both ends, and anyone issuing demands should always operate under the awareness that their tirade is a button press away from losing its legs. As for the school, I would clarify that the family conflict is not yours, and you do not want them getting involved and trying to force some kind of relationship between these kids. It's also insane to think that the school was being closed because of how bad the weather was, but the solution was for a teen to be carpooling around multiple children. Yeah, why couldn't the stepsister's friend's family pick up the stepsister and her friend? Or, strangest of thoughts, I know, her father. In some states, drivers under 18 cannot take non-relatives as passengers in their cars, so it might have been permissible for your son to take his stepsister. Your ex's stepdaughter is not your responsibility. Your ex could have ordered an Uber for her and her friend or made other arrangements. I have a daughter with my late wife and her name is Eleanor. Her birthday is coming up in 2 weeks when she will be an adult. Background, my late wife Chloe and I had been dating since college. We got older and ended up marrying, and after our wedding she shared the news with me that she was pregnant, and I was excited that we were expecting our first child. Since it was our first child, we bought a video camera and made little tapes and snippets of her whole pregnancy. Wholesome things such as us joking around, having lunch, or talking to our unborn child through the camera. We promised to only show Eleanor the tapes until her this birthday. Fast forward 2 years after her birth, Chloe passed away due to an intoxicated driver crashing into her car as she was coming home from her mother's house. I was devastated by her passing and went into a deep depression and had to raise our toddler daughter by myself. My friends tried to get me to go out again and start dating, but every time I did, I felt like I was betraying her. Years later, when Eleanor was a young teen, I met Wendy. We met at a gathering for my sister's birthday and we instantly hit it off. She didn't mind that I had a daughter because she had 2 kids herself and just went through a divorce. 2 years after we got married, we're back in the present. Eleanor's birthday is coming up and I've kept all the tapes to show her. Mind you, her mother died when she was just a toddler, so Eleanor doesn't remember her touch or her voice. I was excited to show her the tapes, and a week ago I was talking to Wendy about it, and I noticed her expression going from happy to uncomfortable. Wendy would always get uncomfortable when I talk about my late wife. I don't say things like, "Why can't you be like Chloe?" or "Chloe was only supposed to be my first love," but I talk about her in a way that gives my daughter a mental picture of what her mother was like. Wendy has always told me how it made her sad that she can never be like her. Chloe was a model, then started working on her fashion career, and don't get me wrong, she was a really beautiful woman, while Wendy had 2 kids in college and was not in the best shape, in her words. I love both women how they are, and I've never had a preference, but I feel like Wendy is gaining some jealousy towards Chloe. I told Wendy I loved her just how she was, and she broke down crying. The next day after the incident, she came up to me and apologized for the way she'd acted the previous night. I told her it was okay and it was good that she felt comfortable sharing her feelings, and I gave her a tight hug and a kiss on her forehead. She asked to see where the tapes were, and I showed her the box of videotapes of my late wife in her closet. Things were going fine until yesterday morning. I was looking for the tapes because I wanted to put them in a prettier box for my daughter, but when I went to go find them, the box wasn't in my closet. I looked everywhere to the point I walked downstairs to see my wife lying on the couch watching TV. I asked her about the box and she told me she'd thrown it away with a neutral expression. My heart dropped and I asked her what she meant. She told me that I talked about her too much and that I needed to move on with my life. So she threw them away as a head start. I was fuming with anger because not only did she throw away what I had left of her, but she also threw away my daughter's big surprise. We quickly got into an argument and she noticed how angry I was, so she started apologizing. I got to the point I started crying and locked myself in our bedroom. It's the morning and I'm writing this in my office, going through my computer, finding old files or any type of video of my late wife to give to my daughter, because sometimes my daughter still cries that she never got to meet her mother. I really thought it would bring her closer to her. I've been ignoring my wife for the past day and she's been texting me non-stop about how sorry she is, but I really just can't look at her right now. It's getting to the point where our mutual friends are texting me to accept her apology and get over it since Chloe died over 15 years ago, but I'm trying to ignore them all because they never had someone so close to them die. I'm working on finding these files and I'm starting to think I was overreacting. I don't know what to do and I really need help. Not the idiot, but your new wife is. To act sorry about throwing a tantrum, then use your sympathy or empathy to show her the videos just so she can throw them away out of spite, especially knowing your plans for them with your daughter. She'd be my ex-wife real soon if I were in your shoes. Wendy didn't just cross a line, she demolished it. Those tapes weren't just memories. They were a once-in-a-lifetime gift for your daughter to connect with the mother she never knew. What she did wasn't about helping you move on. It was pure jealousy and selfishness. And the fact that your mutual friends are trying to downplay it? Unbelievable. You're absolutely right to take time to process this. Honestly, this would be a deal breaker for many people. Agreed, I'd leave her so fast her head would spin. This is one of those "I will forgive you when I get those tapes back" deals. Regardless of her petty insecurity, the coldly premeditated destruction of those memories for your daughter is the definition of unforgivable for me. Oh, my dear OP, please get in touch with the garbage company for the love of all things and your daughter. You never know, they sometimes know where trash was dropped in the landfill, and if I were you, I'd jump into a heap to dig those up. Or better yet, make your new wife do it. She's so trashy to throw away such a precious set of tapes that belong to your daughter, she should dig in and not come back till they're found. My mouth dropped as I was reading his story. She wouldn't just be my ex-wife, I'd consider her more dead than my actual late wife. This is so cruel and unforgivable. Wendy should go rummage through some garbage to find them, or she'd be in the garbage herself. Any of those friends calling for him to forgive should join Wendy in the search.